Речь идет не о том, чтобы разрешать украинскому режиму наносить удары по России этим оружием или не разрешать. Речь идет о том, чтобы принять решение о том, что страны НАТО напрямую участвуют в военном конфликте или нет. Если это решение будет принято, это будет означать не что иное, как прямое участие стран НАТО, Соединенных Штатов, европейских стран в войне на Украине. Это их прямое участие. И это уже, конечно, существенным образом меняет саму суть, саму природу конфликта. Это будет означать, что страны НАТО, США, европейские страны воюют с Россией.
About the threats that Russia has made in terms of retaliation, if there is any move to do that.
So militarily, there's a good reason to do that, to weaken the enemy, to weaken its logistic lines, fuel, ammunition that comes to the front. There is a legal ground to do that, and that is the one side of the discussion. The other side of the discussion is if nations give weapon systems to Ukraine, it is their right as well to have certain limitations in the use of those weapons because they feel responsible for those weapons.
So I'll probably just repeat what Admiral Bauer said. I fully agree. I think it's perfectly legitimate and legal to strike, for Ukrainians to strike to the targets on the Russian territory, providing it's in line with international law and law of armed conflict.
И поэтому речь идет не о том, чтобы разрешать украинскому режиму наносить удары по России этим оружием или не разрешать. Речь идет о том, чтобы принять решение о том, что...
All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what, of course, is happening in the Russia-Ukraine war, we're being joined by Mr. Hanno Klink, who's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia. He's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Klink, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast, sir. And let me in fact start by asking you about this statement that's been put forth by Dmitry Medvedev, where he said that Russia can turn Kiev into a big melted spot if the West gives the green signal for the use of long-range weapons. What do you think he's referring to when he says new technologies can be used to accomplish this?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I mean, we've seen over the last 2.5 years since the February 2022 invasion of Ukraine that the rhetoric of the Russian Federation certainly reaches its height when they have encountered operational and tactical failures. So, for instance, Ukraine's unexpected success over the last month or so and its incursion into the Russian Federation in and around Kursk, I think has come as a black eye to Putin, Medvedev, and the rest of the cabal of leaders in Moscow. So I think on the one hand, you have, again, the nuclear saber rattling that has been occurring periodically. And I would imagine that another aspect of Medvedev's threat may involve hypersonic missiles or just, for instance, a larger barrage of missiles and drones that are being supplied by the regimes in North Korea and Iran to fuel the Russian war machine.
Now, Vladimir Putin in his statement said that the very essence of this war will change if Ukraine is given the go-ahead to use long-range weapons to strike into Russia. Do you think that the United States at this moment is willing to take that risk of escalation? Because when Biden and Keir Starmer met, that green signal that was expected from them did not happen.
Well, I think recent history has shown that the Biden administration has been reluctant to quote unquote escalate the conflict and has the actions that Washington has taken has been an example of self-deterrence, if you will. If you look at every major weapon system that the United States and its allies have supplied to Ukraine, and I mean every major system, there have been piecemeal approaches to the delivery, lots of strings attached, caveats, what the Ukrainians can and cannot do with them, and of course many delays in the decision-making process and in the delivery cycle, which of course has at the end of the day resulted in Ukraine not being able to utilize these systems in the most effective manner to both defeat Russian aggression and to deter future Russian aggression. So I think, given the Biden administration's recent history, given the fact that the United States finds itself in the midst of a presidential election, I would say I have my doubts whether or not President Biden will allow the Ukrainians to utilize the systems provided to the maximum effective ability of those systems.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Hanno Kling, for joining us and getting his dark perspective there.
Breaking news coming out today, September the 14th, 2024, as the United States and the UK are now sounding the alarms over a Russia-Iran nuclear deal. United States President Joe Biden and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer fear secret arms link-up amid talks in Washington over Ukraine. Now, this is coming out today, September the 14th, 2024. This is going to be linked in the description below, so that way you can see the latest information coming out on this today. And this is following the warnings that I let you know that came out yesterday, as we had heard that Putin had said that the United States and NATO, they will officially be in war if the United States or allies let Ukraine fire long-range missiles into Russia. And we had heard that that meeting was unfolding yesterday. Now, regarding that specific item, we have not heard any updates, but we are hearing now that coming out of that meeting yesterday, like I said, the United States and the UK are now saying that there is a Iran-Russia nuclear deal that is currently unfolding, and they're concerned because they believe that Russia, who is the #1 nuclear power in the world, is now sharing their secrets in exchange for information and other items from Iran to help them sustain their war with the Ukraine. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you the latest information on this, but this has a lot of implications that the United States and the UK are concerned about, as Iran is shouting death to Israel, death to America, supplying these various proxy groups that are attacking Israel with funding. And now they could have nuclear secrets, they're saying, just as of recently, as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war, them supplying Russia with missiles, and in exchange, Russia supplying them with their nuclear secrets and information to help them with nuclear weapons. So this coming out today across the news media headlines today, September the 14th, 2024. I've seen it across various news media outlets, but today I'm going to be linking the one coming out from The Guardian just a couple hours ago, today, September the 14th. So I'm going to dive right in and get you caught up on the latest so that way you know exactly what is going on, as the United States and the UK are sounding the alarms over this. And let me know your thoughts. Are we going to be entering into World War III here very soon? I know we've been hearing this for quite some time, pretty much essentially since Russia and Ukraine entered into war. But I remember prior to that, we had received lots of warnings that Russia was going to the edge of Ukraine. They were running drills. They were saying they weren't going to be doing anything. There was nothing to worry about. I remember doing polls on the channel and doing polls on Instagram and various platforms asking people, do you think that we are about to see Russia and Ukraine go to war? The vast majority of people said no, there is not going to be a war. And then we had an official war declaration not too long after those drills started taking place. Now, we are hearing warnings of World War III, concerns of nuclear secrets being exchanged, concerns about escalation, and warnings coming out. Now, I ask the question again, do you think that we are on the verge of World War III right now? And we're going to see a repeat of what we saw before as things are ramping up. We saw them ramping up with Russia and Ukraine. Are they going to ramp up with the United States, Russia, NATO?
Talk about how close we are to potential World War III.
Way too close.
How could this end up in World War III?
I think a couple of different ways, right? You get to a situation where is a Russian red line crossed? They're a nuclear power. Do they start using tactical nuclear weapons in eastern Ukraine? If that happens, then at least some of the Eastern European countries like Poland have to get involved. That balloons into a World War III scenario. I think the most likely and the most dangerous scenario is Iran and Israel right now. What if in North Israel, a bunch of Iranian-backed militias start killing thousands of Israeli civilians? So the Israelis invade, do the Iranians counterattack, and now you have Israel, Iran in a regional conflict. And then the final thing, man, is China wants Taiwan, right? Everything that we have tells us the Chinese want Taiwan. America, I think, has left Taiwan in a really crappy position because we've sent all of our weapons to Ukraine. The Taiwanese, I don't know that they could repel a Chinese invasion right now.